I'm pleased, but I'm saddened that we actually have to talk to Paul Marshall, the father of Christopher Marshall. Paul, thanks for coming on the show today.
Sure.
All right. By the way, I should say as well, I'm a father of five. I've got two 8-year-olds, so I can very easily imagine this happening. I can only imagine your reaction when you were told that your son had been sent home for this. How did you find out about this, first of all?
Well, I came home from work, and my wife had she told me that she talked to Christopher's principal. Well, initially she talked to the teacher, who called and said, we had to talk to Chris today because him and another kid were, they were pretending to play guns in class. So, we told him to stop, and he did. And so my wife said that she went to pick him up because she picks him up every day. I have 5 also, and she's pregnant with our 6th, as a matter of fact. But she gets to the school, and the principal pulls her in the office and says, well, not only did we write a referral on him, but we're suspending him for 2 days. So that was initially how I found out. Was when I came home, my wife just kind of told me the whole story. She said, yeah, this is what's happened. So of course I wasn't gonna I'm not going to stand for something like that.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay. So let me make sure I understand this right here. Your son and another kid were playing during class, which, whatever, they're 7-year-olds. The teacher said stop, and they did. But what they were doing, they were playing Marine and Bad Guy. They were using their pencils and kind of going pew, pew, pew at each other, right?
That's exactly right. I asked him, I said, when I came home, I said, hey, son, let me talk to you. So he was shaking. I mean, he was scared. He didn't know why he was in trouble from just pretending. So my wife and I had to kind of explain it to him, and I said, look, as long as what you're telling me is true, you're not in trouble. But I want to know what happened. So he said that they were bang, 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 and of course he makes the machine gun noise, and I said, so what were you guys playing? He said, well, I was the Marine and the other kid was the bad guy because I was a Marine, so he wants to try to emulate me. And I just went, this is enough is enough. I've had it, because I want the school officials to realize that they're not in control of us anymore. This is something that the American people need to start taking a stand on and saying, that's it. We pay for you to educate our children, not send them home for being children.
Absolutely. Absolutely right, Paul. I could not agree with you more, and that is what it's going to take. So what are other parents saying right now at Driver Elementary?
Oh, man, it's not just at Driver, but when I go to work, everybody is just completely up in arms about it. And I have people saying, oh, wait a minute, you're the dad of the pencil kid, then high-fiving us and saying, this is ridiculous. This needs to stop. And the whole point is, not only am I standing up for my son and my other children and the rights of parents, but this goes back to the rights of Americans. We have to start taking a stand against these public officials and making them get in check and say, hey, you're going to do what we're telling you to do because we're paying for you to do this.
Hey, listen, Paul, I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks here as we've seen, sadly, stories not just, what happened to your son, but, we've had kids sent home, arrested in West Virginia for wearing an NRA T-shirt to school. You've had the kid in Baltimore who was suspended for biting a Pop-Tart into what the teacher thought was the shape of a gun. These administrators are the ones, frankly, who are acting like children. And the bottom line is, look, we have to trust these adults not to screw up our kids. Otherwise, we're bad parents for putting our kids in close proximity to these adults for hours a day. If they abuse that trust, frankly, I think they should lose their job because there won't be any kids for them to watch because we will have all taken them out of school.
That's really what I'm pushing for. I'm pushing for not only for heads to spin, but for people to start losing their jobs. Because the principal told my wife said, you understand, the way my husband is politically, he's not going to let this slide. And the principal, from what my wife was telling me, it just seems like, okay, that's fine. Kind of like, as long as I keep my job, I really don't care.
Right.
So that's when I say, something? Okay, well, maybe you need to start worrying at night where you're going to be working the next day, because this has gone obviously too far. And this is all the feedback we get. I mean, my wife was telling me when she picked the kids up from school today, parents are coming up to her like, hey, we stand behind you 100%. This is ridiculous.
Are you guys going to try to have, are you going to get the PTA involved? Are you going to try to get a meeting of parents? I mean, you've got to keep up the pressure here, right?
I agree. I'm trying to see what our avenues are here. From what I understand, the school has not contacted me or my wife. And so that's kind of a big strike on them. It's, if they really want to change things, you would think they would kind of already wanted to contact us. But my goal now is to keep pushing this in whatever means possible. I spoke to a local attorney today. It doesn't seem like there's anything, from a legal standpoint, that I could sue them per se. But the biggest thing is to draw attention to it, so parents around the country can start standing up for what is right. I want the administrators to start realizing that they are in fact public servants and start making things that are more common sense rather than, obviously like something like this. I told my wife I'd like to possibly start a fundraiser of some kind. I want to pull my kids out of public school. This is kind of the final straw. And I'm trying to find a way to put them in private school. So I talked to my wife. We're throwing around some ideas on trying to figure out how we could go about doing that and start a fundraiser for people to donate so we can make that happen, because this is just, it's obviously way too much for me to handle with, sending my son home for pointing a pencil at somebody and make believing to be a patriot.
Yeah, well, I think this is so ridiculous. And, it sounds like your kid is a normal kid, and what these adults have done is now screw up your child's impression of what school should be, because rather than being a place he's looking forward to going to, today was the first. Did your kid go back to school today? Did Christopher go back?
He went back. He said, I kind of got tired of answering my friends' questions. They were asking me all these questions. I said, well, just go back, take it every day, day by day, and just be yourself and behave like you always do. I mean, he's a good kid. All of our children that are in school, they all have really good grades. Never any disciplinary problems outside of what normal kids have. Talking in class from time to time, things like that. But nothing out of the normal. Out of the ordinary for any child. So just take it day by day at this point, I guess. I really don't want to let the pressure off, though. I want to keep it on.
Well, listen, I agree with you, Paul, and luckily I've never had to deal with anything this asinine with any of my kids and their administrators. But you do have to be a bulldog. You do have to be persistent, and you can't do it by yourself. You've got to get the other parents in the school district and in the school is involved as well, because this could be any one of their kids, because your son was sent home for being 7.
I know, and it's. I think what it goes back to is it just seems like we've run amok, and people try to make it seem as though anything somewhat relating to a firearm or a gun is evil. And my child is brought up. All my children, I own weapons. I own guns. I have a concealed weapon permit, and they all know that a gun in the hand of a law-abiding citizen is a good thing. They know this, and they respect weapons. That's what we're supposed to be teaching our children, not teaching them that they're bad. Because, like I told them, I said, when your great-grandfather fought in World War II, how do you think they defeated the Germans? These are not just bad things, Maybe some nuts out there have made a bad name for them, but that doesn't mean that every gun is bad. So that's the biggest thing, and it drives me nuts, because it's like, oh my God, you can't use a pencil pretend anymore. You can't even have a T-shirt with it on there, or even say the word gun. For God's sake, geez, you better send them home. Lock them up and throw away the key.
Paul, listen, I'm so sorry to hear what your family is going through, but be strong, and we'll stay in touch, because. Definitely our thoughts are with you guys.
Well, I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate all the support we've received so far.
Absolutely. Paul Marshall, join us on the program. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you.